Hello, and welcome to part 2 of my How to Play Highguard series. Hopefully you've already watched part 1, which was to familiarize yourself with the basic concept of the game, familiarize yourself with the standard controls, the movement, the different types of armor that you can get, such as white, blue, purple, and gold armor, the different types of walls that you're going to be facing in the game, such as the breakable non-reinforced walls and also the reinforced walls. I also introduced zip lines to you in part 1, explaining the difference between breakable zip lines and non-breakable zip lines, as well as invisible zip lines, which make you invisible when you are riding on a zip line. I went through some basic movement with mounting on your horse and riding through these glowing blue arches to make your horse run faster, which is especially useful once you get the magical sword called the Shield Breaker, and you're going to go after and raid the enemy base. In part 2 here, I'm going to introduce some of the weapons and the Wardens that you can play in the game. So here right now I've got a basic Vanguard weapon. This is just the white version of the Vanguard weapon. Each of these dummies, they're wearing certain armors. So this guy here, I believe, is wearing white version armor, which is the basic armor. You can see there's just been chipped off. This guy here is wearing blue armor, which is level 2. This guy is wearing purple armor, which is level 3, and this guy here is wearing the gold armor, which is the legendary armor and the most protective armor that you can get in the game. So as you can see there's some gold armor being chipped off. I would recommend that you experiment and try with the different weapons in the firing range of the game, which is where I'm at right now. So if you are playing on PlayStation like I am, just hold down the touchpad on your controller, go to change loadout, and choose the different weapons and experiment with the dummies and their different armor types that they're wearing. As I've mentioned in part 1 of my series here, if you hover your cursor over one of these weapons and just press the square button, you can change the rarity or the level of each weapon. So for example, if you want to choose the white version of the Kraken, you can do so just by selecting it by pressing X. Or if you want to choose a different version of the Kraken, just press square while you've got the cursor hovered over it, and then now you can choose a blue version of the Kraken, which is a little bit more powerful than the white version. And then if you press square button again while having your cursor over the Kraken, you can choose the Masterwork version of the Kraken. Press square again, you'll get the purple version, and you'll get the Masterwork version of the Kraken if you press square again. Some of these will give you the legendary versions. So for example, the Corsair legendary gives you a double shot. The Kraken is a double shot as well. The Paladin, the final version of the Paladin is the Base Breaker, which is really good at shooting at reinforced walls. You also have the Viper, which has impact rounds, which can, this one chips off armor a lot more than the other versions. The assault rifles, so you've got the Dynasty. And again, it's also a base breaker weapon, so this is really good at breaking through reinforced walls. And then the Vanguard, which is a drum magazine attribute applied to that. Let's see, Saber Rifle has impact rounds. Longhorn legendary also has the base breaker attribute, which is really good against reinforced walls. The Ranger level 4 legendary weapon is one of my favorites. It has the repeater attribute applied to it. The Gold Ranger is really powerful, especially if you're firing at a long distance, because you don't have to fire a shot and then wait and reload, or fire a shot, wait, shoot again. You can just repeatedly, continually hold down your R2 trigger button to continually fire shots with the Ranger. It does a significant amount of damage on enemies, and it's one of my favorites. The special weapons here, this is the Big Rig. There's no other rarity or different versions of the big rig. It's just the big rig. This big rig, this guy here is the most powerful weapon in the game. You usually find it from the airdrop. So when you're playing a match and the announcer talks about, hey, there's an airdrop coming soon, make sure you go and shoot at the airdrop, or at least wait for the airdrop to come down in the ground. Smash open that airdrop crate, you'll get some armor, and you'll get the big rig. The big rig is a really nice, powerful weapon. The only kind of special thing with the big rig here is this isn't a permanent weapon. So if you are eliminated during a match, you will drop the big rig, which means the enemy team can pick it up and they can use it themselves. So it's kind of a high risk. Yeah, it's pretty risky just getting the big rig. Like if you get the big rig and you're very comfortable in using a large machine gun, go ahead, but just keep in mind, once you get eliminated, you won't be able to get that big rig again, because the enemy team will likely just pick it up and use it for themselves. Now, if you look at your raid tools, just like I mentioned in part 1, you've got your blast hammer, your rocket launcher, and your zipline gun. Blast hammer has different versions, so there's an earthquake version, a smoke bringer version. The rocket launcher, there's also different versions. There's a thermite version and a multi-lock version. Zipline gun, this is one that I've already covered in part 1, where it fires an unbreakable zipline and also an invisible zipline. So it's really useful to try out all these different weapons on the dummies and the walls in the firing range. So as an example, let's have a look at the blue version of the Paladin. So I'm going to select the blue version of the Paladin as my primary weapon, and I'm going to test it out on this dummy right here. Let's go for a chest area. Continuous shot there. You can see there, it kills him fairly soon, but if you up against somebody with blue armor, takes a slightly longer to kill them.
Blades are ready to be summoned.
And then this guy here with purple armor. Yeah, I'll have to reload that. There you go. Always good to reload after you fired off your clip. Let's try this guy with the legendary armor, the gold armor. It takes just a little bit longer to fire and kill that guy here with the gold armor, with the blue paladin. Now, if I switch this over to the legendary paladin, have a look at the difference. So, if we go over and select the base breaker version of the paladin, again, let's go for a chest area. Let's go for the chest area here in this dummy. This guy is wearing the white version armor. And blue. This is purple. And gold. Now, the nice thing about these base breaker versions is you can use these on the reinforced walls. In part 1, I explained the differences between these breakable non-reinforced walls and these reinforced walls. So these are breakable non-reinforced walls, and this is a reinforced wall. As you notice, there's a prompt coming up saying I can shift through these walls. This is because I'm playing as my favorite Warden, Scarlet. But there are other Wardens such as Redmane. They can also use their character abilities on reinforced and non-reinforced walls. But just for now, we're just going to concentrate on using the weapons on here. So the base breaker paladin, if you notice how it looks when you fire a base breaker paladin on non-reinforced walls, this is what it looks like. Very easy to destroy, it churns through that just like butter. Again, very easy to destroy. Now if we try this on the reinforced wall, again, easy to destroy. This one is obviously the ultimate version of the Paladin, which you're going to find in the round 3 of the match, just because each round introduces the different levels as you play. So once the match gets extended to round 3, then you'll have access to the gold versions of the weapons. Now, I'm going to show you what this looks like with the white version of the Paladin. So let's go with the white version of the Paladin. Have a look at the difference. Now before, I could easily go and destroy those walls with the gold version of the Paladin, but have a look what happens if I use the white version of the Paladin. It takes a little bit longer to get through a non-reinforced wall with the white version. You see there, I had to reload again for that type of wall. And then have a look at the reinforced wall. It takes a lot longer to get through. It's certainly doable, but the longer you spend time shooting at a reinforced wall with a white version weapon like this white version Paladin is just going to be a lot tougher to get through reinforced walls. Which is why it's very important to reinforce your walls back at base if you're concerned that the enemy is going to come and start raiding your base and going after your generators and your anchor stone. So, let's just repair these walls again. As I mentioned in part 1, there are different raid tools that you can use. There are also different things that you can use to get through a reinforced wall and a breakable wall called thumper charges. But if you are using a raid tool such as a blast hammer, you see there's got some ammo for the blast hammer. This actually takes in an attachment that you can then use to blast through a reinforced wall. So just a couple of hits with the purple blast hammer. This is the earthquake version of the blast hammer, and we're already through the reinforced wall. I'm going to show you what this looks like with the rocket launcher. So if we choose the purple version of the rocket launcher, there's that reinforced wall already gone. We can get right through it just in one shot. Now let's have a look at the Ranger. Okay, this is one of my favorite weapons, especially the legendary Ranger. So once again with the Ranger, you can zoom in, and also as I mentioned in part 1, or I hope I mentioned in part 1, as you're aiming down sights, also known as ADS, with holding down your left trigger, your L2 button, you can change the scope of your weapon. So especially with a sniper rifle like the Ranger, if you're aiming down sights, just press the left stick and then it will change the scope. So now I've changed to ×6, and if I press it again I'll change it back to ×3. I'm going to keep it at ×3 for now because we're fairly close to these walls, and I just want to demonstrate to you what this looks like when I fire some sniper bullets at these walls. So here it is with the Ranger. Now bear in mind this is the White Ranger. It does take a few shots to get through one of those walls. That is a non-reinforced breakable wall. Now have a look at the effect on a reinforced wall. You'll see I'll have to reload again. Still not quite getting through it. And there's also a delay. There's a definite delay between firing a shot from the Ranger and then having to fire another shot from the Ranger. Let's go. Yeah, almost there. Honestly, the white version of the Ranger on a reinforced wall is probably the not a good idea. Like, don't even use it. Use your raid tools like the rocket launcher or the blast hammer. Or use something that is more legendary. So let's change our ranger to the legendary ranger, and you can see the difference here. So with the legendary ranger, you can see I'm just holding down the trigger as I'm aiming. Already I've churned through that wall just like butter. Absolutely amazing. That went well as well. Now, reinforced wall, here we go again. Alright.
My blades are ready to be summoned.
Takes a while to get through there. We'll eventually get through it. Now, the good thing is about the ranger is it's for distance. So if you are seeing enemies out in the distance, and once again, if you can't really see them, just change your scope. So I'm going to change to the 6x scope, and now you can see an opponent over here. If you see an enemy over here and they're just standing still, it's very easy just to fire off a few shots with the ranger and just continuously fire at them. That guy was wearing purple armor. That guy was wearing gold armor. I should have reloaded after that first kill. White armor is very easy. But you can see there with the gold version of the ranger, you can just continually shoot. And it's a very effective weapon from a distance. Especially if you're the type of player who doesn't like to come up and do a close combat gunfight with your opponent. If you want to keep your distance, I absolutely recommend getting the gold version of the ranger. It is amazing. Now, if we switch this over to the white ranger, I will show you the difference here. So with the white ranger here, again, we're going to go back into our 6x scope, try to get a headshot off this guy. You can see here I've chipped off his blue armor, and then 2 shots and he's down. So 2 headshots on that guy and we get a kill. There's the blue armor chipped off. Second shot kills him. Obviously, very important to get headshots in first-person shooters like this. Now, I can't continuously fire with this version of the ranger, but it's good enough to, pop off a few headshots while you're keeping your distance away from the enemy. Also, keep in mind, basic first-person shooter rules. Always take cover, make sure you're not heard or seen, and make sure you can actually come up against the enemy, and don't try to be too obvious, don't try to be too much into the open. You don't want to be out in the open unless, of course, you're wearing some really good armor, like this gold armor here. Alright, now that I've shown you some of the weapons that you can choose from the firing range and how to choose the more advanced upgraded weapons. So like I said before, you just have to hover your cursor over one of these weapons and just press the square button, and that changes the type of level of weapon that you want to use. So Dynasty Base Breaker, for example. Let's go back over to the walls. Again, watch the effect of the Base Breaker version of the Dynasty. I already took down a breakable wall and a reinforced wall, and then I had to reload. So, very effective weapon to have. Now, let's have a look at the different wardens that you have available. So, if you hold down the touchpad on your controller, you'll bring up your menu here in the firing range. Go to change warden. Select the warden you want to play. So, let's start off with Redmane. You can press R1 to go through the different abilities that the Warden has.
Round up this way.
And I've accidentally pressed R1 to
Changed
do
my
a
mind.
ping, so I can cancel that. So anyway, let's have a look at what the Redmane Warden can do. So the character ability for Redmane is he uses his claws to get through walls, especially useful if you want to get through these breakable walls. Just go up to a wall, hit L1, and you can smash through a wall. This means the enemy team would need to repair this wall if they want to protect their base even further. Some players, however, don't even repair the walls. What's been interesting in some of the matches that I've been playing is some players actually prefer to break down the walls around the generators because they want to have a better angle at firing at the enemy team during a raid. So you may need to coordinate with your team players if you want to be breaking down your walls and leaving the generators wide open for the enemy team, just so you can get a better angle on the enemy team, or if you want to completely reinforce the walls around the generators and box yourself in and be prepared for close combat with the enemy team as they come in and try to defuse the bombs at the generators or defuse the bomb at the anchor stone. You really have to communicate with your team as to what strategy you're going to be using and what approach you prefer to use, especially during a raid. It's very important to continually communicate with your teammates. So a lot of players do prefer that you use a microphone, although sometimes, I mean, it's just not as efficient, but it's still fairly sufficient just to ping where you want to go. So if you just want to communicate to your team that, hey, I want to go over there, just look over there, press R1 to ping,
Moving here.
and that informs your teammates that you want to move over there. If you want to cancel it, just hover over that ping marker and press R1 again, and it will just cancel it.
Changed my mind.
If you do happen to see an enemy or spot an enemy, just make sure to inform your teammates by double pressing R1. So if I press R1 twice here while looking at this enemy, or even in that vicinity of where I've seen the enemy, just press R1 twice.
Enemy. Crush them.
And that will inform your teammates that you have spotted an enemy. Hopefully your teammates will come and form up with you, and then you can take on this enemy 3 versus 1, 5 versus 1, however you want to do it. So Redmane's ability is really cool, especially if you want to do this during a raid. Just come in at an unprotected, breakable, unreinforced wall, press L1, and you can go right through it. A reinforced wall, have a look. See, it's a little bit harder to get through a reinforced wall with Redmane's character ability. You really have to kind of do a few of these to get through it, but it is possible. But just to keep in mind, just as with the grenade, there is a cooldown. So there's a cooldown for the grenade, and Redmane's ability with his claws, there is a cooldown for those as well. So don't waste them, just keep in mind to use them in the appropriate situation. So let's have a look at another Warden here.
I'm ready to take on this land.
Gonna have a look at Condor. Condor is more of a reconnaissance character. You would be wise to use Condor more as somebody who wants to look out over the field, inform your teammates of enemies or enemy movements that you can spot. I would recommend using Condor, especially if you're a new player to the game and you're not quite as aggressive and want to get into close combat one-on-one gunfights with other players. If it's still useful to your team to be a Condor player where you can perform reconnaissance, that's good enough as well. But if you are playing as Condor, I would highly recommend that you use the Ranger sniper rifle so that you can look down the scopes, see and spot any enemy players coming, and then you can double tap or double press the R1 button to inform your team that you've seen an enemy. I would not recommend firing off a shot at an enemy from a long distance unless you are absolutely sure that you can get a couple of headshots at them and just, pop off a few headshots and actually kill them. Otherwise, don't fire a shot. Just keep an eye on the enemy and keep informing your teammates on the movement of your enemies. So if you see your enemies coming out from the enemy base, for example, and they're coming towards your team, let's say your team is over here near where the trader is, I would recommend just keep, tracking the enemy, double tap the R1 button, just let know your teammates they're coming, especially if you're not using a microphone.
Nope, never mind.
With Condor, she has a bird, which is especially useful, that can detect enemies. Her passive ability when she moves around can also detect enemies, so if she's near enemies, she will actually call out that these enemies are in the vicinity. This won't work in the firing range, so right now it's just saying clear, but you will see a warning indicator come up if you're playing a real match and Condor notices some enemies or detects some enemies. The character ability here with L1 with Condor is she will let loose a bird, and that bird will then detect any enemies in the area. So you just send off that bird, the bird will go out and will scan for enemies. While the bird is going out and scanning enemies, the other ability that you have is the movement scanner. So the movement scanner is very useful if you have enemies in the area. So you can see there I've got my movement scanner. Press L1 again. Condor will play on her flute and she will start scanning enemies in the area. This will reveal the positions of the enemies in the area. You'll see them be marked by an orange highlight, and so you can visibly see enemies hiding behind walls or hiding behind doors or wherever they are. That orange highlight is very useful for you and your teammates. The ultimate ability for Condor is a bird which flies around, and then you can fire off some smoke to detect enemies in the area. But keep in mind, if you are going to be using Condor's ultimate ability, make sure you put Condor in a very safe position. Don't have her out in the open, because while she's using the Condor ability, you no longer have control over Condor herself. You will have control over Condor's bird. And I can't show this to you right now because Condor's ultimate ability is currently charging. It's now at 46%. But just keep in mind, if you are playing as a Condor player, if you're playing as Condor and you want to use the ultimate ability, find a nice safe spot, like a corner of a couple of walls, or just somewhere that you can find that is tucked away, nicely well hidden from the enemy. Use your ultimate ability here, and then you'll be able to control the bird. Okay, let's have a look at the next Warden. This is Atticus. He is the lightning guy. So Atticus is pretty cool because he has bolts of lightning that he can shoot. The bolts of lightning are very useful if you want to keep enemies away from a certain wall or even from a generator or the anchor stone. As you can see here, the bolt of lightning that I just shot out its wall here, it's stuck in the wall. It's kind of emanating, it's giving up all these lightning sparks and things. Now, if the enemies get close to this lightning rod, they're going to be hit by these sparks and they are going to be damaged by those sparks. So what I've seen a lot of players do with Atticus is they will fire these lightning rods near a generator or near the anchor stone, especially after they've planted the bomb, because they know that the enemy team is going to come in and defuse that bomb, and they want to make sure that they've planted those lightning rods around the generator, just so when the enemy team comes in, they're going to be affected by the lightning given off by the rods that he's shooting at. The ultimate ability that Atticus has, he basically flies in the air and then you can fire off lightning bolts at your enemy. It's actually a pretty cool ultimate to have, but I recommend doing that in outside environments rather than inside environments. I don't think it's especially useful indoors. It's much more useful outdoors. So now let's have a look at Kai. Kai is the ice guy. Kai is really good at repairing walls. So, for example, oh, and I should mention, if you do see an Atticus player firing off some of these lightning rods, you can shoot them. Just shoot the lightning rods to get rid of them. I can't shoot these because these are blue. These indicate that these lightning rods belong to my team. If you see orange lightning rods from the enemy team, make sure you actually shoot them. Otherwise, they are continually going to be emanating the lightning and sparks, and it's going to damage your teammates. So if you see orange lightning bolts, shoot them, get rid of them as quickly as possible. Kai's ability is pretty cool, especially defensively, because if you are in a situation that your base is being raided, you can repair the walls that need repairing without having to consume a wall repair item. So Kai can simply come up to one of these walls, and you can see that there's a prompt here to repair a wall. If you just hold down the square button, it'll repair the wall. This is Kai's passive ability. His passive power, restore broken walls with ice. His tactical power is to create an ice wall. So if you find yourself in a situation that somebody's firing at you and you're about to get into some close combat, one-on-one gunfights with an opponent, and you want to create some defensive measures, create a wall between yourself and the opponent, Kai has a great ability with L1 simply to put up an ice wall. And then the nice thing is you can actually push the ice wall forward. So if you come up to the ice wall, just hold down square and you can push it and move your ice wall. This is especially useful if you've got your team behind that ice wall. You can have Kai right at the front, create the ice wall, and then start pushing against the enemy team players, and hopefully you'll be able to figure out a way of how to flank them or how to defeat them in some way, however you want to do it. Just be aware that ice wall is vulnerable to grenade attacks and claw attacks from red main players and things like that. Okay, let's have a look at Mara.
Before my infinity.
Mara is an interesting warden. I don't usually play as her, but I have seen a lot of players use her ultimate ability. The ultimate ability is to create a spawn point for your team, which is really useful if you're raiding the enemy base and you want to be able to create an extra spawn point. Usually because if you are raiding the enemy base, you're going to have a limited number of respawns while you're attacking an enemy base. As a Mara player, you'd want to create your spawn point somewhere in the enemy base where the enemy doesn't really notice it being there. So that you can allow your teammates to respawn at that respawn location, so they don't have to keep ziplining in from the outside or coming in from the siege tower. The siege tower may have even been destroyed at that point, so having Mara's ultimate ability is very useful. The Mara's actual tactical ability, I'll have to remind myself because I don't usually play as Mara. Let's see. Tactical power grants Wardens an overshield that absorbs damage. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, if you are playing as a Mara player, use L1 to basically add more armor to your teammates. So, I wonder if this will work on the dummy. I don't think it will, but yeah, it actually bounced off and came to me as well. But you can see there my armor actually changed from white to a little bit of red there as well. So that little red tip at the end of your armor, that indicates that you've got a little bit of Mara's purple armor, which gives you more protection. So if you are playing as Mara, make sure you stay close to your teammates. You want to throw out these purple armor power things, whatever you want to call them, just to make sure that you protect yourself and your teammates. It just gives extra protection, especially when you're in very tough, intense gunfights with other players.
Light fades, and I must team aside for
Now let's have a look at Una. Una is kind of an assault player in a way, but in some cases I have found Una isn't really that great of a warden. I don't usually play as Una, but I have seen Una players use her tactical ability quite a lot, especially in close quarters gunfights, whereby if you press L1, you're going to be summoning all these wisps, these little minions that come out and they start throwing grenades at the enemy.
Stand watch here.
So there's 3 of them here right now, and as you can see, there's a cooldown. If you want to collect one of them, you can just go up to them and hold down the square button and just collect them back. And then you can go over and reposition and put another wisp down.
Summoning a wisp.
These wisps are really good at, let's say, defending a generator or even an anchor stone at your base, because if you are being raided and you want to protect your generators, just spawn these wisp guys, cast them out near the generators. If they do see an enemy, they're going to be throwing grenades at the enemy, so it is kind of useful, but out in the field I don't really see a use for them. The ultimate ability with Mara is she will spawn a giant tree monster thing, which also does some damage at the enemy. Oh, and I forgot to mention, if you're playing as a Kai player, his ultimate is turning into an ice monster, which is actually very fun to play because he's got an ice shield and you can charge at the enemy as an ice monster. So, let's have a look at Scarlet.
We're all kings today. Let's ride.
Scarlet is the warden I mostly play as. I really like Scarlet's character abilities here, especially the one that has her cloak. So if there's a situation that I find myself being surrounded by enemies, or enemy players are obviously flanking me, or I find myself in a situation I just want to really get out of there, I just press L1 as Scarlet, she turns invisible, and then just run away and find a different position, reposition yourself, and then you can continue to attack from a different angle. Scarlet's ultimate ability is summoning some blades, which is very effective if you're defending a generator, or even if you are raiding the enemy base and you've planted a bomb and you want to defend your position. Just use Scarlet's blades. They're very effective against multiple enemies who are coming in. Especially if you find yourself in a boxed-in situation, such as being surrounded by walls on all 4 sides and you're waiting for the enemies to come in, use Scarlet's ultimate ability to summon up her blades and then press the R2 button for your trigger to fire off those blades at the enemy players.
Lean back and let the sands guide our way.
Ready to kick ass and make flames.
And now we have got Slade. Slade is the fire guy, so we've got Atticus as the lightning guy, you have Kai as the ice guy, and now you've got Slade as the fire guy. Slade, his tactical power is basically a fireball. It's, you just summon a heat wave. It's kind of like a, well, I guess not a fireball technically, but it's a way to summon up some heat from the ground, and yeah, especially if you've got like a row of enemies right in front of you, just summon up your heat wave and hopefully you'll get somebody who's standing in the way. Slade's ultimate ability is a hailstorm of fire that rains down from this large circle of fire, which is really cool to watch. So hopefully if you're in a match and you see an enemy player playing as a Slade Warden and they summon their or they use their ultimate ability to create the raining wall of fire, the raining circle of fire, it is actually pretty impressive to watch. So let's do the tactical power here on these dummies. You see there, it's a nice line here of fire, and anybody who is in that path of fire gets damaged.
Let's make this quick. I know a lot of...
I can smell your fear.
And now for
We're on the same side.
the werewolf guy.
This time.
The werewolf guy, Ekon, I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but I just call him the werewolf guy. He can create dread on enemy players, which means he's basically hunting down the weakest player on the enemy team. Yeah, this isn't going to work in the firing range, I don't think, because it's not going to work on any of the dummies. But if you were in a real match and you are wanting to find the weakest player, just press L1 and then his tactical power should go off and find the weakest player. In fact, let's just have a look at his Warden info. There we go. Unleash a spirit wolf to hunt the nearest enemy and apply dread. Now, what is dread? Dread is his passive power, which it reveals the heartbeat of wounded enemies. So this is very useful, kind of like Condor in a way, whereby if you send out your wolf spirit and it hunts down the weakest enemy player, then that enemy player will be highlighted in orange and you'll be able to track down or see where that player is. The ultimate power is it applies that dread power to all of the enemies across the entire map, and it also increases your movement speed. I haven't had the opportunity to play as this werewolf guy, just because he is new as of version 1.05 that was released quite recently. So, and of course a lot of players are choosing this Warden because he's the newest Warden and everybody's excited to play as the newest Warden. For me, however, I like to play as Scarlet. I've got very familiar with playing as Scarlet and simply playing, using her character abilities to shift through walls and disappear and run around and be sneaky and plant a bomb at a generator and stuff like that. So I haven't really had an opportunity to play as the new Warden here, but if you do have an opportunity, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun with it. He also changes into a wolf, so I just did the mount option there, which is pressing the D-pad up button and then sprinting, And it also looks like he has an attack as a wolf. Oh, it's kind of like a sprint. I guess it's also an attack. I'm not very familiar with this Warden at all, just because it is brand new, and most players are very quick to choose this Warden at the beginning of a match. So forgive me for not having much more information on how to play as this Warden, but there it is. If you do manage to select this Warden and play around with it, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun with it. Okay, so that pretty much covers all of the Wardens that you've got access to as of version 1.05. The game launched with these Wardens: Redmane, Condor, Atticus, Kai, Mara, Una, Scarlet, and Slade. Version 1.05 introduced Econ, Aircom, Werewolf Guy.
It's easy to hide. So today, let's show them who.
I think I showed you this in part 1, but yeah, as Scarlet you can shift through walls, so you don't have to necessarily put a thumper charger on a wall to shift through a wall. If you just want to get through something, just shift through it. There are areas in the map out in the field whereby you'll see a reinforced wall and some loot chests behind that reinforced wall that the other players can't necessarily get to unless you're a Redmane player or if you're a player with a thumper charge. But if you do find a room somewhere out in the field which has a reinforced wall and some loot chests behind that reinforced wall, I think this is a good example right here. Instead of wasting a thumper charge on that, you can just shift right through it. So hold down the triangle button to shift through that. I think I demonstrated this already in part 1, and I mistakenly said press the triangle button, but you actually have to hold down the triangle button. And of course there's a cooldown before you can do that shift wall again. So we're just going to have a little run around this field, see what we can find. I don't think there are any white barrels in this game. Well, in the firing range. I don't think there are any white barrels in the firing range. There are blue barrels. There seem to be a lot of blue barrels in the firing range. But if I do see a white barrel, I usually pick up whatever's in the white barrel. Like, I will often smash a white barrel. If you see a white barrel with like a gold trim, absolutely smash it. You will get a ultimate charge to boost the charge of your ultimate power. The blue barrels as well are also pretty useful. If you just smash open those blue barrels, you get some ammo and some Vesper, and sometimes you get like a wall repair that you can use back at your base. In fact, what have I got on my inventory here? I have a wall repair. I don't have any wall reinforcements. So let's go and get some wall reinforcements. In the firing range, a lot of these items will regenerate very quickly, such as the Vesper crystals. They will regenerate. They are not going to regenerate in the real game. So in a real match, like the Vesper crystals, they're not going to regenerate. The wall reinforcements and thumper charges and whatever you find in the loot chest, they're not going to regenerate. Once you pick up one of these items from a loot chest, they are gone. So if another teammate comes over and picks them up, or an enemy picks them up, that's it. You've lost your chance to grab an item. But I'm just going to pick up some wall reinforcements. And then let's teleport back to base. So if you remember from part 1, the teleport command to teleport back to base or teleport to the current raid that your team is actively engaged in, it is simply holding down the left D-pad button. So I'm just going to hold down the left D-pad button now.
Jumping back to base.
And as you can see here, we have warped back to base. This is the Hellmouth base. There is generator 1, generator A, generator B, generator 2, however you want to classify them. Keep in mind, you don't have to go after generator A first. You can go after generator B, plant a bomb, and then go after generator A later. It's not something you have to do sequentially in order. So I know in part 1 I mentioned planting a bomb in generator A, and then you have the opportunity to go after the anchor stone at generator B. But you could also just plant a bomb at generator B and then go after generator A or the anchor stone. Just as I mentioned in part 1, the anchor stone itself is the most important point. So when you're raiding an enemy base, make sure to go after the anchor stone. Zip line across there, maybe even have one of your teammates bring up the rocket launcher, blow a wall into the room to the anchor stone, and then you would have one of your teammates zip line across there. So as an example, let's just
Sending out a
zip line across there, and then you can go up to the anchor stone, and usually when you're raiding an enemy base, you'll see a prompt coming up saying you can hold down the square button and just hold down the square button and start planting the bomb. And then you'll have to defend that position from the enemy players, because once you've planted that bomb, the enemy players will be coming to that position trying to defuse that bomb, because of course once that bomb goes off, you have blown up that point in the base, and especially with the anchor stone, if you blow up the anchor stone, it's game over. If you blow up one of these generators, then you'll have to go after the other generator or after the anchor stone to win the game. Now if you are on the defending team, you would normally reinforce the walls. So if you've got some wall reinforcements that you found out in the field by looting the chests, or even finding the wall reinforcements from the traders, so if you've got enough Vesper to buy wall reinforcements, it's usually a good idea to loot the chests, find some wall reinforcements, or mine some Vesper, and then buy some wall reinforcements from the trader, the vendor guy named Flynn, warp back to base, come back and reinforce your walls just by holding down the square button as you're looking at a wall.
Reinforcing the wall.
There are some bases whereby the wall is kind of up high, so this is a great example of, you see these walls here are kind of up high, you can't really reach them, and let's say you really want to reinforce the walls up here. There is a climbing ability in Highguard, which I didn't mention in part 1. So you can climb. If you come up to a wall and you just simply hold down the X button, you can climb up to the higher point. So for example, a lot of people will reinforce the walls here at ground level. But if you want to reinforce these walls, you'd have to climb up there. So what you do is you go up to one of the walls here, just hold down the X button. That will enable you to climb up this wall, and as you're climbing up and pushing forward with your left stick, you can then reinforce the wall by holding down the square button. And now you can see there, I've just reinforced the wall above this wall that I just reinforced. So quite a lot of times what I see in matches that I've played in the past couple of weeks when this game has been released, a lot of players will reinforce all these walls on ground level, but they will forget to reinforce the walls up here on the first level, or maybe they don't even know how to reinforce those walls on the first level. Good news for you is you know how to do it. Just go up to a wall, climb up by holding down X, hold down
Upgrading this
square,
wall. The blades call.
and there you go. Now you've reinforced the walls, both on the ground level and also the first level. You can also do the same thing on the ceilings. So if you find yourself simply being on top of a ceiling, there's not really a great example here that I can show you in this base, but imagine there's some kind of ceiling or something here that you can reinforce. If you happen to find yourself on top of a ceiling and you can reinforce it, you can just stand on top of it and just reinforce it. The same goes with Redmane's claw abilities, his tactical power, and also for Scarlet's shifting abilities. If she's standing on a ceiling that can be shifted, that has the same kind of material, then you absolutely can actually shift through that material if you're standing on top of it. So also keep that in mind. And that's basically it. That covers the basics of how to play Highguard. We've gone through all the different Wardens. I would absolutely recommend trying out the different ultimate powers that the Wardens have. They're really fun to use, especially Kai's ice monster ability, and playing as Atticus and him firing off the lightning bolts, and playing as Slade and you bring down a big ring of fire onto your enemy team, onto the enemy team. It is absolutely fantastic to watch. So that pretty much covers the basics of playing Highguard. In part 3, I am actually going to play a live match with some players, and hopefully I'll be able to show you some of Scarlet's abilities in playing this live match, and you'll be able to see firsthand what I've been explaining about to you in parts 1 and part 2 here. So I'll see you in part 3. Remember, it's a live match. The players that I'm been playing with are not aware that I'm doing this tutorial series, but I will be playing this live match with some players, and yeah, let's just see how it goes. I will see you in part 3.